This is New Wave Jazz. Hello, everybody. This is New Wave Jazz right here on WSSB 90.3, South Carolina's jazz station. We have the amazing percussionist, all around instrumentalist, I guess. The amazing, beautiful Chien. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
We are so excited and happy that you're here with us. On behalf of WSSB and myself, Chin, I want to say thank you for your time. Uh, and without further ado, let's talk about your let's talk about your album. And let's talk about you, Chin. Let our listeners know who may not be familiar with who you are. Uh,
hmm
Let them know who you are.
Okay. Hi, my name is Chien Lu. I'm from Taiwan, and I was playing classical music for 20 years. And then I came to the States when I was 25 years old. And I went to Philadelphia to study jazz for 2 years. And after that, I came to New York. And now I just I live in Harlem.
Mm.
And yeah, before COVID, I was playing with Jeremy Pelt. We went to, Japan, Europe to play, to tour all the time. But now, after COVID, there's nothing we can do. But I mean, I'm, composing and trying to get more projects out. And I also released an album last year.
Yeah, and let's talk about the album, The Path. Everybody,
hmm
y'all gotta check this album out. This album is amazing from start to finish. I've been playing this thing for about 2 weeks. Chin
Yeah,
Chin.
nice.
It's made it to my own like personal playlist. So like,
Oh my God.
yeah. So this is a serious album. Let's talk about that. You mentioned you worked with Jeremy Pelt. I did some research and I seen a few videos on YouTube. Of like the behind the scenes work, working on the album.
hmm
How was that in collaboration with all those different artists and making your dream or your reality come true?
At first, I was just, Jeremy Pell's sideman. We went to Europe to play shows for 2 weeks, and Richie Goods is the bass player in Jeremy's band. And then one day he asked me, "Do you have any album out?" I was like, "No, I'm so new on the scene. I have nothing." And then he just told me, "Oh my God, let me produce an album for you." And I was like, "Oh my God, yes, let's do it." So that's how, this whole journey begins. And he was asking me, what kind of style, what kind of music I like, because we play jazz, but jazz has a lot of different,
Yeah,
there are
genres.
different,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not just straight ahead, those kind of jazz.
Right.
So I told Richie a lot of artists I like Roy Ayers,
Oh yeah.
and and then
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, let's do something like that." So he got Shedrick Mitchell. I don't know if you know Shedrick Mitchell. He plays in the church. He is an amazing pianist. He played with Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder. So he has all that gospel sound, which
Yeah.
I like a lot. And we got Alan Metnard. Alan is a very young drummer, and we both play in Jeremy's band. And of course, I'm gonna ask him to play because he sounds really, really good, and he also make other people sound good. That's the the best thing I like about him. He doesn't show off or anything, but he just
Plays. Yeah.
carry the band.
Mhm.
Yeah, and of course Richie Goods, he played with Mogul Miller for like 9 years, and
Yeah.
he also played with Brian McKnight,
Yeah.
Alicia Keys, those people. So he can provide so much different stuff. And also, of course, I have Jeremy Pell to be one of the guests, and his energy and the way he plays is just carry my music to the next level. So that's how I put this band together, and I pretty much just put my thoughts in the music. I didn't really want to go crazy, crazy thoughts, but just my, personal stuff in the album. Because this is the first one. I really didn't know what I was doing. I just want
Yeah.
to be myself because that's the only thing I can do, just to
Yeah.
be myself. Yeah.
And I think just from listening to your album, I first listening, you wouldn't think that. We wouldn't know that unless you told us that, because of all of the different compartments and you're playing your skill. It doesn't even sound like this is a debut album. I wrote that down in one of my notes. I'm like, man, this doesn't even sound really like a debut. It sounds like you've been doing this for a while. you know.
Oh, thank you. That's a
Yeah.
huge compliment.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
thank you so much.
and it's very honest. I think, especially for non-traditional jazz listeners who who may be new to like jazz and want to get their feet wet, so to say. They would, I really feel like there would be a strong connection, especially with your sound and your music and all the band members that you had playing with you. I wanted to talk a little bit about, well, you mentioned a lot of different your bandmates and who they play for. Talk about how you said you didn't want to put your personal things inside of it, but in a way you kind of still did. Talk about your original work on the album.
Yeah, there are a couple songs like The Imaginary Enemy and Blind Faith, Tears in Love. Because I feel like I moved to New York, I moved to the States, and my world just opened up. I start to meet so many different people from different backgrounds. Because when we are in Taiwan, there is only one race, just Taiwanese everywhere. You barely see white people, black people, there's no one there. So I was in a comfort zone and I came here and I started to, negotiate with different people.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. I remember I was so depressed in the beginning because I was like, why are you that mad? Or like, why do you think I would do something like that? Or like, I'm just like, why every day? Like the song Imaginary Enemy, because I work at a rehearsal studio as a receptionist. So like
Okay.
everyone, like a
Yeah,
lot of,
I'm already here.
oh, you already know. And so people will come in and then they will say, "Oh, you must play violin. Oh, do you know what is quarter-inch cable?" Like they have a lot of stereotype. They
Yeah.
just put on me right away. So I didn't have experience, so I didn't really know how to handle it. So I kind of just, after I work, I just go into a room and then just start to compose. And
Yeah.
that's how I named the song The Imaginary Enemy. And it has a crazy free improvisation in the beginning because that's kind of, how I want to describe the anger around the city.
Yeah.
And, we don't we can't judge one person before we really get to know them. That's basically the song
Yeah.
about the song. Yeah, and Blind Faith, the same thing.
Mhm.
It reminds me the beginning of this whole journey. I have that stupid, crazy faith. Like I felt like I can do everything, But
Yeah.
once when the journey starts, you
Yeah.
you just get all different kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
like
A lot of different
crazy thing.
energies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that song, yeah, I wrote that song just to remind myself about that, blind faith in the beginning of my dream. Yeah, and Tears and Love, that's a song for my grandma because she was living in China and then, China split to two different uh politic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one moved to Taiwan, one stay in China, which is the government they
Okay.
have right now. So my grandma was in the war all the time. The Japanese
Between.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, and Japanese and all the crazy stuff. So when I have some very hard time, I'm just thinking about my grandma because she was experiencing this kind of stuff around my age. And the only thing I need to do is music. And she had no food to eat and she had to survive. So when I have hard time, I'm just thinking about my grandma, like, it's
Yeah.
not that hard. If she can make it, I can make it. It's yeah. So my original songs are, just my crazy like personal thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your original work is definitely it speaks a lot of truth. You mentioned we talked about this before we started the imaginary enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Um Matter of fact, before we really get into that, let's let our listeners have a little taste of the imaginary enemy. This is new wave jazz. Here is the imaginary enemy by none other than Chin Chin Lu from her debut album, The Path. You just heard The Imaginary Enemy by none other than Chin Lu from her debut album, The Path. Before we went and took a break and listened to that amazing song, um, we talked about your personal your personal truths and
Mhm.
how that correlated to creating your original work on this album.
Mhm.
Given with all that information about your grandmother and just just turmoil and just leaving one place and coming to a totally different place, talk about let's talk about what's happening now as far as with the Asian American hate crimes that's going on. It's been a spike in that. How do you feel about that? And could you just kind of elaborate on how you personally feel about what's going on right now in the states?
Mhm. I feel like, I feel like Asian people are kind of just quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's our culture because I didn't really get to have a lot of independent thoughts when I was in Taiwan, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, parents always tell you to just be the quiet one, you don't really want to speak up for yourself, or I don't know, it's just not that open. It's a little bit more conservative
Okay.
in our culture. Yeah, so I think when I don't know about this because I'm not like Asian
Asian. Yeah.
American.
I
Yeah,
know.
because
Yeah.
literally from Taiwan.
Taiwan. Yeah.
So I don't I I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I just feel like um Asian people are more like peaceful. I don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
we just don't really want to get into like the craziness. So we always just, hide. But this time, the COVID, some people say this is like Asian disease, something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we get all the crazy, the racist stuff. I mean, I personally had some experience before, like,
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
know,
ask you have you experienced anything since you moved here? Um,
yeah, a lot, especially when my when my music uh when I drop my album,
mhm,
some fans or some people will just, you know, start to reach me out online. But
mhm,
I can tell that they are a little bit, I mean, they don't really know how to talk to me. So sometimes when they
mm.
speak, they will say some really racist stuff, but they don't even know.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so they don't know. So I think that's okay. And I think, I don't know, I'm lucky, so I don't really have those severe incidents happen to me.
Yeah.
So that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not just Asian people. Like before we had Black Lives Matter,
Mhm.
now we have Asian, and I think it I don't really know how to talk about this here, but
Yeah.
because there's a lot to say, and
Yeah. It's so much
you know,
going on. Yeah.
yeah, so I feel like people really need to spend time to even watch some documentary or,
Yeah.
talk
Educate
to,
themselves. Yeah.
exactly, like I watched so much documentary when the Black Lives Matter,
Hmm.
the stuff was around. I watched so much of that, and now
What?
people are, talking about Asians. I think people just everyone just have to educate them their self.
Yeah.
So we don't need to there's no need to like attack other people because life is so short and we don't have time to love. So how ain't nobody got time to hate, like
Yeah.
why? You
Why?
know?
Yeah. That's
So I
true.
feel like I'm more mellow, I don't
Mhm.
really like post stuff to talk about this
Yeah.
because I really don't know. Uh, I don't
Yeah.
really
You.
know. I'm more mellow, so I prefer to educate myself, my
Mhm.
kids in the future if I have kids,
Mhm.
like the next generation and friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, I I really wish and I really hope this country will get to a better place. But it's a beautiful country because, just like what I said, when I was in Taiwan, there's no other race. So I
Mhm.
didn't even get to learn.
You
But
didn't have the
now
opportunity, yeah.
mm-mm. But
Mhm.
now at least I feel like, okay, I'm learning. And when I see someone do this thing and I think it's messed up, I will, return myself and see, and then, just to think why I think this person is messed up. Maybe I am messed up. Maybe I didn't
Right.
know
Yeah.
the background of them or something. So I start to just, I just want to shut up and just learn. I don't
Right.
want to judge. I don't want to put stereotype on people. Just save some time.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
save time and energy, and we're not gonna harp too much on that. I just wanted to see what you would have to say about it. And you said some very interesting things. Given that you didn't have that opportunity to like learn, I find it very very like amazing that you start your album off with the rendition of Roy Ayers. We is it we live in Brooklyn or we live in Brooklyn, baby?
We live in Brooklyn,
Yeah, we
baby.
live in Brooklyn, baby. I really, and that's one of those songs that's always been kind of sampled and kind of heard. Talk about your connection with Roy Ayers and how that came about.
Yeah, like I just love music. I love good music. So I didn't really care. That's not straight ahead jazz, so I couldn't put that in my album. I didn't care about all that. I
Right.
just think that song sounds really amazing. And I remember I found out that song when I was in Taiwan, when I was like 23, 24. I was only playing classical music and I didn't know what that is. So I was just, I just loved the music. I just loved Royers.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Philadelphia to study jazz, there's a local band called Vertical Current. And there was one time they asked me to do a show, and that show is Royer's tribute.
Okay.
So the whole
Wow.
band is just, they are so groovy, and they are just beautiful people. And I rehearsed at their house and we were having so much fun. But I was just a student, I didn't really know much about music. I was still learning. I mean, I still don't know a lot about music. I'm still learning too. But like I just experienced that groove and I experienced their personality. I feel like they're so open-minded because but at that time still feel like I'm, fresh off the boat. I felt like I don't even know how to speak English that well, but you guys are so nice and they don't think I suck, but I thought I suck. Like I felt like I couldn't play, but they are just like treating me like one of them. Like I love that experience. And we did that show at Silk City. It's a music venue in Philly, and that just I really enjoyed that show, and I can never forget about that show. So that's why Roy Ayers music is really important to me because of this Philly band, Vertical Current. Yeah,
Okay.
and also the music itself, it just has that unique groove. And the I don't know if you heard the original version.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
The original version, the string player
Philly,
is
yeah.
very, very raw. Like
Hmm.
I don't know, they play violin like percussion instrument. But
Yeah.
my version is more like smooth. Like the
Yeah.
everything sounds more smooth, but the original one is just like raw, and then just you feel like you can hear Rayer's personality. I don't know how to describe, but
Yeah.
amazing.
Let's give our listeners a taste in new wave jazz fashion of "We Live in Brooklyn, Baby" by none other than Chin Chin Lu, right here on New Wave Jazz. we're back. You just heard "We Live in Brooklyn, Baby" by Chin Lu from her debut, "The Path." Um, we were talking a little bit while we were listening. I asked Chin, what is a track that you really want the our listeners to know about and hear. You mentioned "Blossom in a Stormy Night." Elaborate on that and let us know why you chose that particular track.
Because that song, my mom sing the intro.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, I like that intro anyways.
Yeah.
But it's a traditional Taiwanese folk song,
Mm,
and I think if you play that song to any Taiwanese or Chinese, we will all know the melody. Yeah, and the song was talking about, a girl, because that's maybe 1920, around that time in Taiwan. So there was a girl, she, I think her fiance cheated on her,
mm,
and she felt like she had nowhere to go. She couldn't even go home. That's how conservative Taiwan was
wow.
in 1920. But like now I'm thinking, if my boyfriend cheated on you, I can go find a new boyfriend. Like it's
Yeah,
2020,
20.
like yeah, so I felt I just want to celebrate with all the, women, because now we are so lucky that we don't we don't need to be in that conservative box anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why I really want to share the melody with everyone, and I want to, and it's a simple melody.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I really like that song.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you made something. You said something very interesting about women being in a box. And now like you get a whole women have a whole month dedicated to them. There's a lot of women empowerment groups going on, and just the love and a more higher respect for the women in our world. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show, because we don't see a lot of new women jazz artists, as far as just playing music. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We got a lot of vocalists. I mean, you have
Hmm.
Esperanza Spalding, but she sings too. You have all
Hmm.
these different, different jazz, well, women in jazz, but you don't really see just a pure, authentic woman of jazz like yourself. I just think that's very phenomenal, which is why I really think that which is really why I really wanted you here on the show. Inside your music, you talked about on it's when actually we can listen to Blossom in a Stormy Night. So
Mm.
that way, our listeners and our viewers can know, you know what the vibe is.
Yes.
Let's
Hmm.
let's throw it to Blossom in a Stormy Night by Chin Lu right here on New Wave Jazz.
乌鸦飞，乌鸦飞，秋风有吹落地，无人看见美丽万岁，为啥路途不再回？
And we're back. You just heard a blossom in a stormy night, a Taiwanese classic, as Chin Chin Lu mentioned before. Um, there's another track we want to talk about, Mo Better Blues. That's one of my one just one of my favorite many tracks on this album. Talk about that and how you got that on your debut.
Because I just love the song. It's just so simple, you know? I feel like if I'm gonna make my album, I have to listen to it over and over and over and over and over and over. So what song that can make me feel like I can listen to it over and over? Simple songs, you know, simple melodies. And when I was soloing, my producer Richie Goods told me just play blues, no crazy stuff. So that was actually hard for me. Just play blues in time and have feelings, you
Yeah,
know. It's really hard. So I think it's a really hard song to play, but it's a really easy listen. You
yeah,
know, it's a really easy listening song. So I love that song because Spike Lee, you know,
yeah,
I watch his movie and his movie always has like the music is always so raw. The music Does
Yeah.
he
His
doesn't.
soundtracks are crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so creative and so powerful.
Right.
That's why I like to have some of his stuff in my album. I think it's an honor. It's an honor. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mo Better Blues that stuck out to me. I was like, wow, like, and then the sound of it is just so amazing and grand. And like you said, it's a very easy listen, and it's an easy melody to follow. And even though you said it's hard to play,
It's
but
hard to play.
elaborate on that. Like, how does that process work when you're working on songs that already have been created and you're trying to make them your own. Tell us about that process.
Hmm. Definitely, I was very nervous because, that's everyone knows about that song.
Right.
So you feel pressure that you're going to do your version. But I just trust my bandmates. I
Right.
feel like no matter what happens, they will provide a really good and nice vibe.
Mm.
We just want to be ourselves. So I kind of let that nervous go away. I just want to vibe with my bandmates and Shedrick Mitchell on organ, and I just need to trust whoever make music with me, and we just enjoy that moment and
Mm.
really sing. When I solo, I really have to sing. When I play the melody, I have to sing, you know. So I actually I didn't really think too much. I just let the band flow.
And speaking of that flow, it kind of made me think about the second track from your album, "Invitation." I really
Hmm.
like that. I think Jeremy Pelt is playing the trumpet there.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that song with "Invitation" and how, because I hear that on some vinyl. Are you gonna release a vinyl of this?
You know what? Everyone, like, I get so much people ask me all the time. Yesterday I was doing a radio interview with a
Mhm.
station jazz station in Denver. They asked me the same question, and like every day sometimes I get emails, people ask me that. So I
Yeah,
might
I
release
really
that.
think you should do that because this, especially with this album, you can hear everything just from the CD alone. So just like, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna put an insight on for people who don't have vinyl. Vinyl, you can hear everything way more clearer than what you hear on streaming services, YouTube, and all that. I don't. That's just my personal opinion. So and like
Mm.
when I heard this, I'm like, man, I can love this spinning over here on my record player. I would love to have that. So yeah, but to bring it back, yeah, talk about like your counterparts and how easy it is for you to, groove with them and just vibe and create.
It's hard for me because I was in the classical world for a long time and I was not aware of my time and my feel. And also, I was always playing a little bit ahead of the beat because I feel like that's classical training is kind of like that, like
Oh,
ahead, like a little uptight and on
boom.
time,
Yeah.
on point. And I didn't really know how to count two and four. I was not chill at all. But I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my producer Richie Goods helps me so much because every time when he hear my uptight, he will say, just lay back, just chill, and don't play for the first four measures, the first solo, the
Right.
the beginning of the solo. Just don't play. Just listen to the group for like four measures, sometimes even eight measures. Just
Mhm.
really focus on the groove, and
Mhm.
then you start to play and you start to talk, and you just talk. You focus on the groove. Like you really need to focus on the groove.
Yeah.
Because I always focus on the chords, the notes, what note I have to play. But
Right.
like now I really need to learn how to just focus on the groove. You play one note, that's a wrong note, but that's on the groove. That will still sound good. You play all bunch of stuff and nothing is on the groove. It's not
Right.
gonna sound great.
Right.
So my musicians are all experienced musicians. I trust them a lot. They are all like so much better than me. But the good thing is I can just ride with them. You know, I just ride on their grooves. Yeah, that's I think that was the biggest focus I have to had when I was recording that album. I had to always remind myself the groove, focus on the time, instead of focus on the notes. No.
Mm. Speaking of that, how that's it makes me wonder how much well, how long did it take you to complete this album? Given that you were trying to, you were actually learning during this process. Is what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah,
Trying to learn the feel and learn the groove. How long did it take to complete this album?
I start to talk about recording this album in June 2019, 2019,
Okay.
and June, and I started to compose a little bit, but here and there, not like really focus on it. When it gets to October, I got serious
Mm.
and I booked a studio on 2020 February.
Okay.
So that's like a month.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
not bad.
yeah.
That's not bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
You got the groove. You found the groove pretty fast. It
No,
wasn't
I'm
hard.
no, I'm still trying to find it. A lot of
Yeah.
time if I don't remind myself, you know, I need to work on music more.
Oh well, speaking of that, we're in. I believe we're still in this thing, this pandemic. That changed the way a lot of musicians, just go about their daily lives and express how they feel. How has that affected you?
Um, in the beginning, it was definitely, not smooth. But luckily, I have some students because I started to play piano when I was 6. Remember that?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I can still use that skills. I teach vibes and piano, but it's all virtually. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, like
So
this.
that's
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how my financial is still kind of stable because of that.
Mhm.
And I just start to compose a lot, instead of worry about there's no gig,
Gigs
my
and
tour
stuff.
got all canceled. I start to write the next album.
Oh yeah. All
Yes.
right, that's good. Yes. Well, I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody else is too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I bought a marimba because I really want to
Mm.
write some, a lot of marimba material in my next album because marimba, was the instrument I was always playing when I was growing up.
Mm.
And yeah, and I'm just always composing with different people. Like now I have a project with Richie Goods. We are composing 6 songs. We want to release that as an EP.
Okay.
Yeah, and the topic will focus on, people, peace and love, like,
Oh yeah.
because this past 2 years there are so many things, right?
Right. Yeah.
And Richie was, tell showing me a lot of stuff that I need to know,
Mm.
like the stuff, the history and the situation. So I learned a lot from him and also musically too. So that's why we start to collaborate and we want to put out 6 songs. It's
Mm.
all going to be about human beings, people. Yeah.
Okay.
And also I'm writing my new album. And I'm just, try to be patient,
Yeah.
because we are all in this together. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm in this and you're not. No, we're all in this together.
Right. We're
So
all experiencing it. Yeah.
yeah, we just need to be patient and try to feel peaceful and stable every day. Because I see too many people, they got so depressed and so many tragedies,
Right.
but I feel like mentally we want to stay stable. Yeah,
Mm.
and keep being productive.
Well,
Yeah.
you've done some what I know around Christmas you and Richie Goods released We Three Kings, I believe.
Yes.
I really
Mhm.
like that. I
The
love
funky
that.
style.
Yeah, that funky style. Yeah, it was very, very, very nice. We were
Hmm.
spinning that all all through the holidays.
Nice.
Most definitely. And you, I just want to. I guess we can give a big shout out to Richie Goods because you mentioned him a lot. The bassist, we play a lot of his music as well. I didn't know he had that type of capability of being able to, produce and do things like that. So
That's one thing. He was always telling me that he, I think he said he play because he's a sideman because bass player you always play like sideman stuff, right?
yeah.
He always tell me that he felt like he spent too much time to play sideman and stuff. He didn't really develop his group, but he has so much stuff to say and he has so much experiences. So I feel like sometimes we undervalue those musicians. They got so much stuff and but they didn't really show that to the world. Yeah, so I think Richie is a wonderful musician. He has a lot to say.
Yeah, the bass
Yeah.
player, and I believe the bass player is really like the glue to me, especially with you can't to me, you can't really have that freedom to, especially for the other instruments, to have that freedom to kind of improvise and do what they need to do without that bass, that that glue that holds everybody,
Yeah,
that holds that line, like, hey, this is where
r-
we're at, that groove.
right.
Yeah, so
The foundation, the groove. Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. Let's, matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, let's check out Invitation
Mm-hmm.
by Chin Lu from her debut, The Path, right here on New Wave Jazz. You just heard Invitation featuring Jeremy Pelt from Chin Lu, her debut album The Past. A very, very, very subtle and amazing track. Like I said, I can hear that on wax somewhere. So that's a very, very, very phenomenal album and the body of work, Chin Lu. I'm so glad that you're here. We're coming up on time. So Chin, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners and our viewers with? How can we follow you, etc., etc.?
Hmm. I mean, I don't really like to use too much social media, but
Mhm.
I try,
Right.
I try to, you
But
know,
how can we
well,
connect? How can we connect and get more of your music?
okay, connect with me on my Instagram,
Mhm.
Chen Lu Vibes, or I have a Facebook fan page, but I think there is only like 100 followers because I'm using my personal one more, but I try to switch to my fan page. But you
Okay.
can just type in my name, Chen Lu, and you can find my fan page. I'm trying to switch, my music stuff to the
To
fan
the
page
page.
and
Yeah.
leave my family, friends stuff on my personal. Yeah, but definitely follow me on Instagram or Facebook and write me messages there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this album I didn't release in America. I only
Mhm.
released that in Taiwan. So whoever wants to get my album, they have to write an email to me, and I mailed it out.
Oh wow.
Yes,
That's an interesting fact. I
because I
did
feel
not know
like
that.
yeah, because I feel like I'm so new, and I
Mhm.
want everyone, I want to
Yeah.
connect with every single
Everybody.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the future, I can put out stuff, but like right now, I really want to just talk to the fans and really,
Mhm.
you know, mm.
That's amazing. I think that's a great quality to have, as an artist and a musician. Man, that's amazing. Is there anything, coming up that we can look out for or look out for?
um, I think we are going to release 6 singles in the summer, so
Okay.
stay tuned. Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
This has been New Wave Jazz. In New Wave Jazz fashion, we'll end on a beautiful note. Here's Mo Better Blues. We want to say thank you to Chen Lu, for her time and her presence. Thank you for gracing us with your time and coming to the show. We really appreciate it. I know I do, and I know our listeners do. So,
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Wonderful opportunity.
oh, thank you, no problem. So, in new wave jazz fashion, this is Mo Better Blues from none other than the amazing, immaculate Chin Lu from her debut album, The Path. This is New Wave Jazz.